Alright guys, I'm going to try and make a video on how to replace the battery in a 1997 Corvette C5. Here's the battery I got from DigiKey, negative and positive. It's right here. This battery is going to be placed underneath and resoldered. What we're going to do with this battery first is we're going to take the positive, we're going to bend it flush to the side of the battery. It's got to be flush to the side of the battery. And we're going to take a cutting tool and we're going to cut half of this off. So what you've got is this. And let's put this aside. We're going to cut this sensor right here. What we're going to do is we're going to take, I use a Husky, these are awesome, and we're going to mark straight down, putting a little bit of pressure on it. Once that's marked, I use a set of precision screwdrivers. I use the flathead 3.0 millimeter, and that's this one, to carefully take away the top layer of this goopy stuff. Once you get the top layer off, it is extremely easy to get the rest off. And I'm just putting a little pressure and pulling away that top layer. Same thing. I'm just going to keep taking away this top layer. I'll get back to you when the top layer is complete. I'd like to mention also, when you're taking away the top layer, there's a battery underneath here, and the epoxy doesn't bond to the battery. So you might actually take away some of the top layer and hit the battery, and then go and start taking away a lot of the layer and expose the actual battery. That's okay. No problem with that. If that happens, just go and try and expose the battery. You don't really care about this battery, so you can scratch it, and then take your tool, push it towards the battery and down, and what will happen is that whole top layer will come off and expose that battery. That's perfectly fine. That actually speeds up the process. See? And that's a battery underneath there. What we're going to do is we're going to take the top. Once we expose this battery, the job is so much easier. When you're getting to this portion that you cut, you have to be very careful because there are two traces, there are two soldered pads right here and right here, the negative and the positive. You have to be careful not to strip those pads or lift them in any way, so stay away from this one, this top one. What we're going to do is cut it eventually. I'll show you that in a couple of seconds. Run along this pad with your flathead screwdriver and push towards that pad, and then lift. Push towards the pad and lift the epoxy off of that line. And then just dig away at that top pad. What we're going to do now is we're going to take our cutting tool and we're going to cut that top strip off of the pad. We're just going to cut it. We're going to take our cutting tool and we're going to go to the edge of the battery with the cutting tool, and we're going to cut that strip away from that pad. You'll know when it's cut because you'll hear it cut. Okay, now just lift it off of the battery. And we're going to continue stripping away this epoxy. Just be careful with it. Take your time. I'm stripping away towards my other hand. If you guys do it, be careful because you can jab your finger with this flathead screwdriver, and I can tell you it hurts a lot. Once you get this battery loose, there's a pad underneath that is looped under the battery. So you'll have a little bit of room to pull this battery up and then snip that pad away and then desolder the pad. I'll show you that in a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes. I'm going to try and keep this video under 2 minutes, so I'm rushing, but you guys take your time. You guys are on YouTube, you're lucky, you can just pause the video and be like, huh, what did he say? Again, this is for a 97 Corvette, but I think they go to 2002s. They use the same sensors. This is a Schroeder sensor. I think that's the way you say it. Got to be careful with this battery not to puncture it. I heard battery acid is quite bad for you. And now that you've got the battery exposed, what you're going to do is just dig away. Dig away at the stuff that's in there. Just be careful because there is a green circuit board underneath what you're digging at, and you don't want to, you don't want to dig at that circuit board and break the trace. So just dig away until you find the solder point for the bottom, which is the positive solder point. Once you find that solder point, dig around it carefully. So now you can see I found that bottom solder point right there. And what we're going to do is slowly dig around the corners of this battery, making it easy to get underneath the battery and lift it. The battery is stuck to the bottom of this sensor with double-sided sticky tape, which makes it kind of harder to get this battery up, but we're going to try to get this battery up. You really got to get under there and get to the inside or to the bottom so you get a good, a good dig of that battery. You might hear gas released from the battery. I would wear some type of gloves if you're worried. Maybe even a face mask. I mean, I don't know, it's just a 3-volt battery. It shouldn't really kill you, but it's not good to be breathing that stuff in. So I'm going to try right now to dig this battery out. I heard the hiss that I punctured the battery. Just be careful when you do that. I can also see some battery acid in there, so I definitely know I did puncture the battery.